The black Mercedes screeched to a stop in front of the restaurant, tires squealing against asphalt. Amara's hands froze mid-wipe on the table she'd been cleaning. Through the window, she watched two men in dark suits emerge first, their movements sharp and efficient. The small crowd on the sidewalk parted instinctively, people stepping back without being asked. Then he stepped out. The cloth fell from Amara's hands. Even from inside, even after 5 years, she knew him instantly. Minjun. But this wasn't the Minjun she'd left behind in that tiny apartment with peeling wallpaper and empty cabinets. This man moved like he owned the street, the block, maybe the entire city. His suit was tailored perfectly, his presence commanding in a way that made the air itself seem to shift. Their eyes locked through the glass and the world stopped. The man she once left behind was standing right in front of her. If you love emotional romance stories, stay with me. Table 6 needs water. Her manager's sharp voice cut through her paralysis. Are you deaf? Move. Amara couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Minjun was walking toward the restaurant entrance, and her heart was slamming so hard against her ribs she thought it might crack them open. 5 years. 5 years of trying to forget, trying to forgive herself, trying to build something from the ashes of the worst decision she'd ever made. And now he was here. The bell above the door chimed. Minjun walked in, and every conversation in the small Korean restaurant died. Even the kitchen noise seemed to quiet. His security remained outside, but their presence was felt through the windows, a silent reminder of power. Amara. Her manager snapped his fingers in front of her face. What's wrong with you today? You're working, not daydreaming. Get back to. Is there a problem here? Minjun's voice cut through the space like a blade. Smooth, deep, controlled. He hadn't raised his voice at all, but somehow everyone heard him perfectly. Her manager turned, irritation clear on his face until he actually looked at who was speaking. Then his expression changed, shifted into something between recognition and fear. No problem. Just managing my staff. Your staff. Minjun's eyes never left Amara's face. This woman, she works for you? Yes, she's one of our servers. If she's caused any trouble. She hasn't. Minjun took a step closer, and Amara watched her manager actually step back. But I'm concerned about how you speak to your employees. That tone, that disrespect. Is that how you run your establishment? I don't know what you mean. You were just what? Minjun's voice remained calm, almost pleasant, but there was steel underneath. Explain to me how speaking to another human being like they're worthless is acceptable management practice. The restaurant had gone completely silent. Amara could feel everyone watching, but she couldn't look away from Minjun. This was new. The Minjun she'd known had been gentle, kind, sometimes too soft for the world they lived in. This man commanded respect with nothing but his presence. Her manager stammered something, his face reddening. I apologize if I seemed harsh. The lunch rush, you understand, things get hectic. I understand that respect costs nothing, and you should treat your staff with dignity. Minjun's voice was quiet but carried complete authority. I trust we won't need to have this conversation again. And I'm sure when the owner hears about this, he'll agree that his staff deserve better treatment. No, sir. Of course not, sir. It won't happen again. Minjun finally looked away from Amara, giving her manager a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Excellent. Now I'd like to speak with Amara privately. You don't mind if she takes a break, do you? It wasn't really a question. Her manager nodded so quickly Amara thought his neck might snap. Of course. Take all the time you need, Amara. The sudden kindness in his voice after years of casual cruelty would have been funny if Amara wasn't so terrified. Minjun gestured toward an empty booth in the corner, away from the windows and prying eyes. She followed on shaking legs, sliding into the seat across from him. Up close, the changes were even more pronounced. There were lines at the corners of his eyes that hadn't been there before. A faint scar along his jawline. His hands, resting on the table, bore the subtle marks of someone who'd fought their way up from nothing. But his eyes, those dark eyes that had once looked at her with such uncomplicated love, were harder now. Guarded. How have you been? The question seemed absurd, but she didn't know what else to say. Minjun's laugh was soft and humorless. How have I been? 5 years, Amara. 5 years of silence, and that's what you want to know. I don't know what you want me to say. I want to know why. He leaned forward slightly, and she caught a scent that was both familiar and foreign. Expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely him. I want to understand how you could just leave. How you could walk away when I needed you most. The memory crashed over her like a wave. The tiny apartment where they tried to build a life. The stack of medical bills that grew taller every week. Min-jun's face, pale with fever, as he insisted he was fine even though they both knew he was dying. The loan sharks who called at all hours, their threats growing more explicit. Her mother's voice on the phone, begging her to come home before she was destroyed too. You were dying, Amara said quietly, her voice cracking. The treatment you needed cost more than we'd see in our entire lives. Your family had disowned you for being with me. Mine was barely surviving themselves. I was drowning, Min-jun. Every single day I watched you fade a little more. And there was nothing I could do to stop it. So you ran. I was 23 years old, working 3 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night, and watching the man I loved die in front of me because we were too poor to save him. What was I supposed to do? Stay. The word was simple, devastating. You were supposed to stay with me. Tears were burning in her eyes, but she forced them back. She didn't have the right to cry. Not after what she'd done. I couldn't be there when you died. I couldn't watch it happen. I was weak and selfish and I knew it, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't die. I can see that. She gestured at his suit, at the obvious wealth and power radiating from him. You did more than survive. You became someone completely different. A waitress approached nervously, but Min-jun waved her away without looking. The woman scurried off immediately. That casual display of authority, of people jumping to obey, sent a chill down Amara's spine. This wasn't just success. This was something else entirely. Do you know what it's like? Min-jun said slowly, his voice controlled but heavy with old pain. To wake up in a hospital bed barely alive, and the first thing you do is reach for someone who isn't there? To call out for them even though you know they're gone. Min-jun, please. I thought you were dead. For 3 days while I was delirious with fever, I was convinced something terrible had happened to you. That you'd been hurt or killed and that's why you weren't there. Do you know what that did to me? I left a note. I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. 7 words. That's all you gave me after 3 years of building a life together. His jaw tightened. When I finally found it, when I finally understood that you'd chosen to leave, that you'd walked away by choice, something inside me broke. Or maybe it hardened. I'm still not sure which. Amara's hands twisted in her lap. I went back home. To my family. I thought maybe if I wasn't there, draining our resources, you'd have a better chance. That the money I was spending on myself could go to your treatment. That's not how it works, and you know it. We didn't have money. Period. Your leaving didn't suddenly make me wealthy. Then what happened? How did you afford the treatment? How did you end up like this? She gestured around them, at the way people were still watching nervously, at his security outside, at everything that screamed power and danger. Min-jun sat back, studying her face. She could see him deciding how much to tell her, weighing his words. Finally he spoke. Someone made me an offer. A very dangerous man with very dangerous connections. He'd pay for everything, all the treatments I needed, in exchange for my loyalty. My service. Amara's blood ran cold. The Mafia. That's what people call it. We prefer to think of it as family. There was dark humor in his voice. I was dying alone in a charity ward. My family wanted nothing to do with me. The woman I loved had disappeared. I had nothing left to lose. So I said yes. Min-jun, what have you done? What I had to do to survive. His voice hardened. I started at the bottom. Running errands, delivering messages, doing whatever was asked. But I was smart and I was motivated. I had something to prove. Within a year I was managing operations. Within 2 I was essential. Now I'm the one people come to when they need problems solved. When they need protection. When they need things done that can't be done through legal channels. This is hitting so far, tap-like. You're telling me this why? To make me feel guilty. To show me what I caused. I'm telling you so you understand what your choice cost. Every hard decision I made, every line I crossed, every piece of my soul I traded away. I did it because there was nothing left to hold on to. You were my anchor, Amara. Without you, I just drifted into the dark. That's not fair. The tears were falling now, hot and shameful. You can't put all of that on me. I made a terrible mistake, but I can't be responsible for every choice you made after. Can't you? He leaned forward again, and the intensity in his eyes pinned her in place. The night you left, I swore I would never be that helpless again. Never be in a position where I couldn't protect what mattered. Never let anyone have that kind of power over me. Everything I built on that promise. Before Amara could respond, one of Minjun's men appeared at the table. She hadn't even seen him enter. He leaned down, whispering something in Korean too quick for her to follow. Minjun's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture. Tension. I'll handle it, Minjun said quietly. The man nodded and stepped away, but not far. Just to the edge of the booth, close enough to intervene if needed. What was that? Amara asked. Business. Minjun's voice was dismissive, but his eyes told a different story. It's nothing you need to worry about. But she'd heard enough. Words like liability, and exposure, and risk. She wasn't stupid. She understood what was happening. Being seen with her talking to her, it was dangerous for him somehow. I'm a problem for you, she said flatly. Being here with me, it's causing issues. It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. Tell me the truth. Minjun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. I have rivals. Enemies. People who would love nothing more than to find a weakness they could exploit. For 5 years I've been careful. No serious relationships. No attachments that could be used against me. And then you walk back into my life, and suddenly I have a weakness again. I didn't ask to walk back into your life. You came to me. I know. He ran a hand through his hair. A gesture so familiar it made her chest ache. I know. But the moment I saw you through that window, the moment our eyes met, I couldn't just walk away. 5 years of telling myself I was over you, that I'd moved on, and it all fell apart in a second. So what do we do? I don't know. His honesty was somehow worse than anything else. Part of me wants to put you on a plane to somewhere safe and never see you again. Another part wants to keep you close, protected, where I can make sure nothing happens to you. And another part is still so angry that you left that I want to hurt you the way you hurt me. I understand if you hate me. I wish I did. God, I wish I could just hate you. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. It would be so much easier. But I can't. I've tried for 5 years and I still can't. Amara's heart was breaking all over again. I never stopped loving you. I need you to know that. It wasn't about love. It was about fear and weakness and not being strong enough. But the love never stopped. Not for a single day. Minjun closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them again, she could see past the hard exterior to something raw underneath. Do you have any idea how many times I imagined you saying that? How many nights I lay awake wishing you'd come back, and tell me it was all a mistake? Would it have changed anything? Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not the same person, Amara. I've done things that would horrify you. I've hurt people. I've made choices that can't be unmade. The man you loved doesn't exist anymore. Neither does the girl who left you. We've both changed. We've both been broken and rebuilt ourselves differently. Maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't need to be who we were. Come with me, Minjun said abruptly, sliding out of the booth. We can't talk here. Too many eyes. Amara glanced at her manager, who was watching from behind the counter with obvious anxiety. Minjun followed her gaze and called out. She's done for the day. You'll pay her for a full shift. Yes, sir. Of course, sir. The sudden obedience from a man who'd spent years treating her like dirt would have been satisfying if Amara wasn't so overwhelmed. She followed Minjun out to his car, aware of everyone watching, aware that her life had just shifted on its axis in a way she couldn't fully comprehend yet. The car ride was silent. Minjun drove himself this time, his security following in a separate vehicle. They moved through the city, leaving her familiar neighborhood behind for areas she'd only seen in magazines. Finally, they pulled up to a high-rise that gleamed like a monument to wealth. His penthouse took up the entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city that made her dizzy. The furniture was modern and expensive, but somehow the space felt empty, like a showroom rather than a home. Drink? Minjun asked, heading to a bar that probably cost more than her annual salary. Water is fine. He poured himself something amber and brought her water in a crystal glass. They stood by the windows, the city sprawling below them like a kingdom. Amara wondered if this was how he saw it now, as something he'd conquered. I almost died, Minjun said quietly. You were right about that. After you left, the fever got worse. I was delirious for days. The doctors said I had maybe a week left. What saved you? A man named Park Jin-ho. He's the head of the organization I work for now. He came to the hospital, stood at the foot of my bed, and made his offer. He said he could see potential in me, that he needed people who were hungry, who had nothing to lose. He paid for everything. The treatments, the medications, the private room. In exchange, I gave him my loyalty. And your soul, Amara whispered. Maybe. Probably. I don't think about it too much. He took a slow sip of his drink. I started at the very bottom. The lowest jobs, the most dangerous assignments. But I was smart and I learned fast. Within 6 months, I was managing street operations. Within a year, I was coordinating major deals. Within 2 years, Park Jin-ho trusted me with things he wouldn't trust his own son with. Because you had nothing to lose. Exactly. No family that mattered. No love. No attachments. I could make the hard calls because nothing could hurt me worse than I'd already been hurt. He turned to face her fully. You did that. You made me into someone who couldn't be hurt again. I'm sorry, Amara said, and the words felt pathetically inadequate. I'm so sorry, Minjun. I think about that choice every single day. I think about you every day. Wondering if you survived, if you hated me, if you'd found someone else. There were others. Nothing serious. Nothing that mattered. He set down his glass. They'd laugh and it would be wrong. They'd touch me and it would feel wrong. I tried, especially in the beginning, but it never worked. So I stopped trying. That's no way to live. Says the woman who's been alone for 5 years too. Don't think I didn't keep tabs on you. Amara's head snapped up. You were watching me? Not constantly. Not obsessively. But I needed to know you were safe. That you were okay. I told myself it was just closure, but really I think I was waiting. Hoping you'd come back someday. I wanted to. So many times. But I was terrified. Terrified you'd hate me. Terrified you'd moved on and seeing you happy with someone else would destroy me. Terrified that I'd ruined everything so completely there was no coming back. And now. He moved closer and she could feel the heat of him, smell his cologne mixed with something uniquely Minjun. Now that you know I haven't moved on? That I'm still here, still affected by you? What are you going to do? I don't know, she admitted. This is all so much. Your life, your world, it's dangerous. Those men talking to you at the restaurant, I heard them. I'm a risk to you just by existing in your life. You are, he agreed with brutal honesty. My enemies would use you against me if they knew you mattered. My rivals would hurt you just to prove a point. Being near me puts a target on your back. Then maybe I should leave. Maybe this was a mistake. Is that what you want? He reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek with a gentleness that contrasted everything else about him. You want to run again? Because I need you to be honest with me, Amara. If you're going to leave, do it now. Don't let me hope. Don't let me believe this could work if you're just going to disappear the moment things get hard. Amara thought about the old version of herself. The 23-year-old girl who'd chosen fear over love, safety over risk. That girl would leave right now. Would convince herself it was for his own good. That she was protecting him by walking away. That girl had spent 5 years drowning in regret and guilt and loneliness. But she wasn't that girl anymore. No, she said firmly. I'm not running. Not this time. I don't care how dangerous it is. I don't care what risks come with being in your life. I'm done letting fear make my choices. I'm done being a coward. Something shifted in Minjun's expression. The hardness cracked just slightly, showing the man underneath. You understand what you're saying? Once you're in, once people know you matter to me, there's no casual exit. You'll need protection. Your freedom will be compromised. Your life will change in ways you can't even imagine yet. I understand. And I'm choosing it anyway. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing us, whatever that means now. We're not the same people we were, he warned. This won't be easy. We can't just pick up where we left off. I know. We have to start over. Learn each other again. Figure out if these broken pieces of who we used to be can fit together into something new. Minjun studied her face like he was searching for any sign of doubt, any hint that she might change her mind. Finally, slowly, he nodded. One chance. That's all I can give you. One chance to prove this is real. That you won't run when things get hard, because they will get hard. I won't run, Amara promised. Whatever comes, I'll face it. I'll face it with you. He pulled her into his arms then, and she went willingly. His embrace was different than she remembered, stronger and more controlled, but underneath she could still feel that same heart beating. The one she'd fallen in love with in a cramped apartment with nothing but each other and dreams. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other as the sun set over the city, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. I can't promise this will be safe, Minjun said quietly against her hair. I can't promise there won't be danger or fear or hard times. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking for a chance. To prove I'm not that scared girl anymore. To show you I can be strong enough for this life. For you. And if I'm not strong enough? His voice was vulnerable in a way she'd never heard before. If being near you breaks down the walls I've built and makes me weak again, then we'll be weak together. And maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe that's what love is supposed to be. Not making each other harder, but giving each other a safe place to be soft. Minjun pulled back enough to look at her, really look at her, and she saw tears in his eyes. I don't know how to do this. How to be what I've become and still have space for love. For softness. For you. We'll figure it out. One day at a time. One moment at a time. She reached up, cupping his face in her hands. We'll make mistakes. We'll stumble. But we'll do it together. Together, he repeated like he was testing the word. I forgot what that felt like. He kissed her then, and it was nothing like the passionate kisses of their youth. This was weighted with everything they'd lost and everything they might still find. When they pulled apart, both their faces were wet with tears. Stay tonight, Minjun said. Not because of any expectation or pressure. Just stay. Let me know this is real. That you're really here. Okay, Amar agreed. I'll stay. They ordered food and ate on the couch, talking about small things, safe things, slowly mapping the territory of who they'd become. Minjun told her about the legitimate businesses he'd built, the investments and properties that gave him cover for his other activities. Amara told him about her family, about the therapy she'd finally started, about slowly learning to live with her choices. As the night wore on and the city lights blazed below them, something shifted. The tension eased. The pain, while still present, felt less sharp. They were two broken people trying to figure out if their jagged edges could somehow fit together into something whole. I should call my security, Minjun said eventually. Let them know you'll need protection starting tomorrow. Already assuming I'm staying past tonight? Amara asked with a small smile. Hoping, he corrected. Desperately hoping. She watched him make the calls, issuing instructions in Korean too fast for her to follow. This was her life now, she realized. Security details and careful movements and always being aware of threats. It should have terrified her. Instead, she felt oddly calm. This was the cost of loving Minjun, and she was willing to pay it. Later, he showed her to a guest room, respecting the boundaries they'd set even though every part of her wanted to follow him to his own room. This was about doing things right this time. About building something that could last. Amara. He paused at the door, his hand on the frame. Thank you. For coming back. For choosing to stay. For giving me a reason to be something other than hard and cold. Thank you for letting me try again. For not shutting me out completely. After he left, Amara lay in a bed that probably cost more than her car and thought about second chances. About redemption. About love that had been tested and broken but somehow survived. They had a long road ahead. There would be challenges she couldn't even imagine yet. Dangers. Setbacks. Moments when the past threatened to destroy the fragile present they were building. But they had something now they hadn't had 5 years ago. They had honesty. They had growth. They had the hard-won knowledge that love alone wasn't enough. that it took courage and commitment in choosing each other every single day. Her phone buzzed. A text from Minjun. Sleep well. Tomorrow we start figuring out what this new version of us looks like. She typed back. Good night, Minjun. See you in the morning. See you in the morning, Amara. And every morning after, if you'll have me. She smiled in the darkness, exhausted and overwhelmed, but also more hopeful than she'd been in 5 years. Somewhere in this massive penthouse, Minjun was probably lying awake too, thinking about the same things. They were separated by walls and years of pain, but they were also connected by something that had endured despite everything. Some loves don't disappear. They wait in the shadows, patient and persistent. They survive the worst of us, the mistakes and the fear and the terrible choices. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they wait until you're brave enough to choose them. Have you ever left someone you loved out of fear? Or had someone leave you at your lowest? Be honest in the comments. Could you forgive like Minjun did? And would you be brave enough to stay like Amara? Tell me. If this made you feel something, don't forget to smash that like button. Share this story to your loved ones and subscribe for more emotional Afro-Korean romance stories that'll hit you right in the heart. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.